Overwhelm isn't just a time problem, it's a thought problem. And in actual fact, as I kind of think about that title, Overwhelm isn't just a time problem, I would say that actually it isn't a time problem at all. Yes, we live in a ridiculously busy world, but I invite you to ask how your world became so busy. I think there are obviously sometimes some circumstances that mean we have a busy world that we live in, but I suspect an awful lot of the time it's just, well, it's thought that says we should be doing more. I know for me, my life was just so busy. I still go there. I'm not going to pretend that I don't. I think I kind of thrive on being busy. Watch out for that kind of thinking that I've clearly got still. But it's not as bad as it was. Um, and I think, when I look at my run up to burnout, how did I become so overwhelmed and so busy? Well, it was because I just kept saying yes to things. And in fact, I didn't just say yes to things, I actually sought things out to try and make sure I had an extremely full, busy life. And all that, all the time, I think the voice, there are voices, there's thoughts, isn't there? There's voices in our heads driving this behavior towards increasingly and increasingly busy lives that I really do think then take us into this place of overwhelm. And, it's things like, I should be able to handle more. Well, who says? Who says you should be able to handle more? Often when I speak to my clients, it's like they think they're superheroes. I was just thinking then, the scene in the original Superman film, I think the first one, where Lois Lane dies in a car accident. Sorry, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, but if you're of a certain age, you've definitely seen it. And Superman goes back. He spins around the world and he makes time go backwards because he kind of makes the world spin backwards with the force of his love, obviously, and his anguish over losing Lois Lane. And he manages to make time go backwards. But we're not like that. We can't create more time. We can only go at a certain pace, although for some of us that is never fast enough and we'd love it to be faster than it is so we can do more. But you are not a superhero. You are a human being and you have, I know you are limitless in the sense of being part of universal intelligence, but you have a physical capacity because right now you occupy one of these, a body. That's where you live. That's where you are right now. It's in a body, isn't it? It's not there's not an opt out of living in a flesh and blood body if you're a human being. And so overwhelm, it really is a thought problem. It really, really is. So the other thoughts like I don't have time to rest. I have one which is I don't have time to go to the loo. Now I'll be busy doing something and I'll get so absorbed and so like, oh, I just want to finish this, just want to finish this, just want to get this done. And then I'll put off going to the loo to the point where I'm dancing my way up the stairs to go to the toilet. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Because I'm not listening, I'm not even sometimes listening to my body on that level. Sometimes I am, but sometimes I'm not. And what about this? What about this old chestnut? I have to get it all done today. There's something here around how absolutely appalling we are at knowing how long something is going to take. I had a really interesting conversation with my daughter recently, and I said, "Oh, I always underestimate how long something's going to take," and she said, "Oh, I always overestimate how long something's going to take." But either way, it's made up. Either way, as human beings, we're really poor at knowing how long something is going to take. even one of those, fairly predictable tasks that we do on a regular basis, it's quite easy to not get that right, not get that time management or time estimation thing right. And so there's something that I love to talk about, which is flow versus productivity. I've spoken about this before. Sorry, focus rather than productivity. Well, it's out there now, isn't it? Focus over productivity. Because I can say, I feel like I've got a little bit of kind of not control, but a little bit of a decision I can make to focus on a particular task. And whatever that might be, hopefully some one of my bigger tasks, one of my more important tasks, and I can choose to focus on that for a period of time. But I literally can't know how long it's going to take me to do that. And the thought that I have to get it all done today amplifies overwhelm. So how that used to look, well, it still sometimes looks like this for me, is waking up on a morning and my mind straight away booting up into there's this, there's that, there's all these things that I'd like to get done, and then finding the feeling of overwhelm becoming quite prominent. And I've already spoken a little bit before about how do we tune into that feeling, how do we recognize that feeling. Like for me, and often for my clients, they'll say exactly the same, that overwhelm feels like somebody's almost sat on your chest, like it's very, very heavy feeling here. And you feel sort of you can't really move forward. It feels like it's hindering your breathing almost. And the issue then is that when we feel like that, we're much less likely to move in a helpful direction, because at the point at which we start feeling like that, it's the thoughts, isn't it? It's the thought of everything we've got to do that we're feeling in our body. And so, mainly because as human beings, we just like to resolve things in our bodies as quickly as possible, we will do something other than the things on the list, because in that moment, there's a bit of confusion. We think the feeling of overwhelm is coming from the list of things. It's not coming from the list of things. It's never coming from the list of things. It's coming from the stories that we've got around the list of things. So the stories we've just talked about. I should be able to do it all. There aren't enough hours in the day. That's another one, isn't it? I don't have time to get all this done, and certainly don't have time to look after myself, perhaps in the morning by doing something that's good for us, exercise or getting out for a walk, or drinking enough water, whatever, instead of starting day with a shot coffee and then throwing ourselves into it. I have to get all that done today. If we think about our list and we think I've got to get that again, get all that done today again, there's a feeling of overwhelm, there's a feeling of heaviness in the chest. And I think the other thing then that often comes with me is this feeling of urgency. And the feeling of urgency really does bat all our balance and self-care right out of the way, doesn't it? Because the feeling of urgency says, well, you need to get all these things done as fast as possible. And if you do all of these things as fast as possible, you're going to feel better. You're going to be okay. You're going to, you'll get some relief from that. But of course, that never quite works, does it? Because we get all the things done, and guess what? Well, we never get all the things done, probably. But even if we did get them all done, there's more things. There's always more things to do, especially if you're a creative individual who's got lots to share and is passionate about what they do. Then you will always have more to do. I never don't have anything to do, ever. But then I'm addicted to business, of course, so there is that. So all of these, no, overall, as I said at the beginning, overwhelm isn't a time problem; it's a thought problem. And can we start, therefore, to just tune in a little bit to those thoughts, just a little bit, like seeing that the inner critic's a bit like a radio station playing the same old tunes over and over again. And I imagine you've seen them, that they are similar to these ones I've been sharing. I should be able to handle more. I don't have time to rest. I have to get it all done today. And the feeling of urgency. It's all, or sometimes I should be able to handle more comes alongside. I can't handle this. There's too much. When in actual fact, all we've ever got to do is one thing, the thing that's in front of us right now. And this is an invitation really to just shift the lens, shift from productivity to perception. You know, it's not all about everything we got to do. It's got to do with how we view those things. If I've got a collection of things I would like to get done, and then I've got a feeling of alignment with one particular task, or I've scheduled that so I'm doing it, which is becoming more and more my way, then there's just that one thing to do, and then we can go for that focus over productivity in a really, really calm way. So I hope that's helpful. It's really helpful once we see that things that we're experiencing in our body, that feelings we're experiencing in our body, like overwhelm, are not problems of our circumstances, they are problems of thought. And that's really, really powerful to see. Thank you so much. Hopefully, I will see you again sometime soon. Take care. Lots of love.